When I look back at that day, I never could have imagined how one small request would completely change the way I viewed my stepson and honestly myself. My name is Emily, and this is the story of how I asked my stepson for help, not realizing that what followed would leave me completely shocked in ways I'll never forget. I met David, my husband, about 7 years ago. At the time, he was a single father, raising his son, Ethan, who was only 12 back then. Ethan was quiet, polite, but understandably distant with me at first. When you marry someone who already has a child, there's always this unspoken tension. Will the child accept you, or will they always see you as someone intruding into their life? I did my best not to overstep. I didn't want to try to replace his mother, who had passed away when Ethan was young. Instead, I wanted to be someone he could trust, maybe even lean on if he needed. But building that kind of bond doesn't happen overnight. The early years weren't easy. There were awkward dinners, short conversations, and moments when I could feel Ethan pulling away. But I stayed patient. I knew the only way to earn his trust was through time and consistency. Slowly, we built something that felt real. By the time Ethan turned 18, the relationship between us had grown stronger. He wasn't calling me Mom, and that was fine, but he did start coming to me for advice sometimes, about school, about friends, even about small things like what to wear to his first high school dance. Those little things mattered to me more than I could ever express. But the story I'm about to tell happened later, after Ethan had turned 19. It was one of those days that felt overwhelming from the moment I woke up. My husband was away on a week-long work trip, and I had been juggling everything at home. My own job, house chores, and the endless list of small things that pile up when you're the only adult holding things together. On top of that, I had just injured my back a few days earlier while lifting a heavy box in the garage. The pain wasn't unbearable, but it made everything harder. Bending down, moving around, even just cooking dinner, it all felt like too much. That afternoon, I was standing in the kitchen, staring at a basket of laundry that needed to go upstairs. My back throbbed at just the thought of carrying it. That's when Ethan walked in. He had just come back from class at the community college, his backpack slung over one shoulder, hair a little messy from the wind. He gave me a small smile and asked, "Hey, you okay? You look tired." I wanted to brush it off, like I always did. I've always been the type of person who hates asking for help, especially from someone younger. I didn't want Ethan to feel like I was burdening him. But in that moment, something inside me softened, maybe because I could see genuine concern in his eyes. So I decided to ask. "Actually," I said, trying to sound casual, "would you mind helping me with something? My back's been bothering me, and I need to get this laundry upstairs. It's heavier than it looks." I expected him to hesitate, maybe sigh or roll his eyes the way teenagers often do when asked to do chores. But instead, he set his backpack down without a second thought and said, "Of course. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it." That simple response caught me off guard. No complaints, no questions, just immediate willingness to help. He grabbed the basket, carried it upstairs, and when he came back down, he didn't just stop there. He asked me what else I needed help with. I told him it was fine, that I didn't want to keep him busy, but he shook his head.
"No, really.
Just tell me what you need. You shouldn't be straining your back." It was such a small thing, yet it touched me deeply. For years, I had wondered if Ethan truly saw me as part of his family, or if he just tolerated me because I was married to his dad. But in that moment, he wasn't helping me out of obligation. He was helping because he cared. That realization hit me harder than I expected. Over the next hour, Ethan went above and beyond. He not only carried the rest of the laundry but also vacuumed the living room, took out the trash, and even asked me if I had eaten lunch. When I admitted I hadn't, he offered to cook. I laughed at the idea, but he was serious. "I can make pasta," he said. "It's not fancy, but it's something." I sat at the kitchen table while he cooked, watching him move around the kitchen with surprising ease. It was almost surreal, seeing this young man, who had once been a quiet, shy boy, now stepping up in such a thoughtful, mature way. While we ate, we talked. Not small talk, but real conversation. He asked me how I was doing with work, if I ever missed the city we used to live in, and what it was like for me when I first became part of his life. I was stunned by his curiosity. For so long, I had wondered what he thought of me, if he resented me deep down, or if he wished things had been different. And here he was, opening the door to an honest conversation. "I didn't make it easy for you at first, did I?" he said suddenly, twirling his fork in the pasta. I smiled softly. "No," but I understood. "It wasn't easy for you either." He looked down for a moment, then back at me. "I just want you to know, I'm glad you didn't give up on me." Those words hit me like a wave. I had spent years silently worrying if I was doing enough, if I was making any difference in his life. And hearing him say that, it was the kind of validation I didn't even realize I had been craving. My eyes welled up with tears, and I had to look away for a second. That was the moment I realized something had shifted between us. He no longer saw me as just Dad's wife. He saw me as someone who belonged in his life, someone who mattered. The rest of the week while David was gone, Ethan kept helping out without being asked. He drove me to the grocery store, carried the bags, and even fixed the squeaky hinge on the back door that had been bothering me for months. Each time he did something, it wasn't just about the action itself. It was about what it represented. He was stepping into adulthood, yes, but he was also showing me that he valued our relationship. When David finally came home, I told him everything. I told him how Ethan had stepped up, how he had surprised me with his kindness, and how much it meant to me. David listened with a proud smile and said, "That's my boy. But you know, Em, a lot of that is because of you. You've been here for him all these years, and he knows it. That's why he was there for you when you needed it." It made me realize that sometimes the most shocking moments aren't the big, dramatic ones. Sometimes it's the quiet, unexpected acts of love and kindness that change everything. Asking for help that day was hard for me, but it opened the door to something deeper. Ethan and I still have our ups and downs, like any family does. But from that day on, I've never doubted where I stand in his life. And I think he knows he can always count on me, too. So when I say that asking my stepson for help shocked me, it wasn't just because he carried a laundry basket or cooked me lunch. It was because, in that moment, I realized I hadn't just married David, I had gained a son.